Good evening, guys, and welcome to the Lee Stafford second Lee Stafford Education Facebook Live. We're here on the 5th floor of the Stafford's house in Primrose Hill, and tonight I want to share with you a haircut called the Flirt, which is a combination of two classic haircuts that we teach in our academies, the short graduation and the uniform layer, that are going to be mashed together to give us something really fun and interesting, but more important, something that is really commercial, something you'll be able to do in the salon tomorrow. So let's get cracking and show you what I've done so far. Before we start, let's just share with you who's on the camera this evening. And it's my beautiful wife, Jessica Jane. Thanks, Jess, for doing the camera work.
You're welcome.
So let me just share with you this pre-sectioning. So we've done a classic horseshoe section, which has gone from the recession, just underneath the crown. And like a lot of our classic horseshoes, we've measured it from the section there to the hairline, got the same on the other side, and then the top of our horseshoe is that length and half again. So basically the horseshoe is 1.5 times the width of the side, which is a lovely marriage we find between the top and the underneath of a haircut. So we've done that section in there. Then we've taken a section in the middle, which has gone just above the temple, and it goes round to in between where the occipital bone is and the top of the section in there. So it goes through to that section there, right way from above the temple all the way through on both sides. And then on the top, what we've done, we've taken a section all the way through the middle. But then as we've got 1 inch from the front, we've literally just done an angle which has gone to the middle of the eye. So we've got 2 sections on top. This section is a little bit wider towards the front. So that's what we've done with the pre-sectioning. I've done one little piece of the haircut before I started this, just as a matter of speed, really. So what we've done, we've taken literally a horizontal section like that. We've pulled it out straight from the head, and we've cut that section about a half of my comb. Pulled it straight out from the head. Then what I've done is literally worked around the head, taking horizontal sections, pulling it out, so it's exactly the same length all the way, right the way to the front here. So if you see there, which is about half of the comb there. Done that on both sides. So now let's get cracking with the back. So we're going to take a section that goes right the way down the middle of the back, a classic vertical section. Oops, sorry, babe. And then we're going to pull this straight out from the head. And what we're focusing on to begin with is this top section, because that's our guide. So can you see that, Jess, really clearly? So we're going to pull that out straight from the head. We want to really be able to see that guide clearly. And we're going to angle our fingers slightly in towards the neck. And we're just going to cut a straight line all the way down to the nape, pulling it straight out from the head. You'll notice that as I'm cutting this, my fingers are mirroring the section. Also, my elbow is in a very, very straight line, so that I'm just going to get a nice straight line. Well, if I did that, there's a chance that I could start over-directing here, which I don't want to do. I just want it to be simply straight out from the head. So that's the first section. Nice and simple. Now what we're going to do is we're going to get these disconnected pieces, because we're going to leave these disconnected, these side pieces. So what I want to do is I want to literally just section these out of the way. So I'm looking at this hairline here, and yeah, just go around there, just so you can see that. So I'm looking at that hairline there, and I want to take a straight line above it, just like that. So this I'm going to literally put a clip in it and just keep it out of the way for now. And I'm going to do the same on the other side, because these pieces we're going to leave disconnected, and it's really important that we go right into that hairline, because leaving these disconnected pieces here, what you'll see as we work through this haircut, that these are going to fill in this gap here. So we don't go right down to the bottom, but just like
can I just say something?
Yeah.
I've just had a few comments saying that you can't see anything because people's comments are in the way. You can swipe the comments away. I think you swipe them either to the right or the left. So just give it a go and your screen will become big again.
Why not, Jess? So now, what I'm doing is I'm now taking my sections on an angle. And the reason why I'm doing this is just for ease. And this will become more apparent when we cut the second side, because as a right-hander, this is going to be my easier side, and the other side will be my more challenging side. So having it on an angle will make my more challenging side easy. So what I'm doing now is I'm just pulling this out straight from the head. Now, what's really important here is I start to move my body around with the sections. If I kept my body over here, there's a chance I can over-direct it, which means the haircut would be getting longer. And we don't want that. We just want it to simply be exactly the same length. So keeping the sections nice and clean, I'm pulling out the top section first. So the top section I'm pulling out first because I really want to get my first guide in. But the beauty of this now is I've got two guides. I've got a guide from the top and I've got a guide from my previous section. So I'm moving my body around with it. I'm pulling the head out straight from the head, and now my finger angle is mirroring the section that I'm taking. So this is my last section now, and then I'm gonna cross-check this. So I've taken a couple of sections, now I'm gonna cross-check it just to make sure that I'm going in the right way. It's better to do this early on rather than go all the way around the haircut and then find out that you've been over-directing and then have to go right back to the start. So this might seem like that it's time-consuming, but it actually saves you loads of time in the long run. So that's absolutely great. So what I'm going to do now is I'm now going to move on to the other side, and I'm going to do exactly the same. Now this would normally be my difficult side. Now if I kept my finger angle like that the whole time, it would be easy when I'm working around this side, but when I come to my challenging side, if I want to keep the balance there, it would mean I would have to do that, which is a bit more awkward. So by angling it now, it's just a little bit easier to do. So I'm pulling this straight out from the head again. As you can see, I'm making sure that I get that guide at the top there. I want to be able to see my guide on the underneath as well. And I'm just pulling this straight out from the head, moving my body around with it. Very important, moving your body around, because like I say, if I kept my body here, it'd be very easy then to over-direct. One more section here.
Don't forget, guys, you can swipe the comments away if they're in the way. Swipe the comments either to the right or left, I can't remember which one, and then the comments will go.
So let's just keep this nice and clean so you can see what I'm doing. Let's put a little clip in there. So you can see my angle, my section is on an angle, and you'll see that my finger angle is matching that section. I'm starting at the top and I'm just working down. So all I want is this hair to be exactly the same length. Yes, it's getting a tiny bit shorter as we go into the neck, but when I cross-check this, I want it to be all the same length. So we're just taking off dust with the cross-check. You don't want to take, if you had any big pieces sticking out, then you don't just want to whack them off, because it's easy just to whack them off, but the shape will nowhere near be as much quality. So you only want to be dusting this. If there are any big pieces to take off, go back to your original section to do it. Now I'm going to come back to the other side. Now, to be quite honest with you, this is the most time-consuming piece of the whole haircut, this piece here. Once this piece is done, the rest is, it's quite quick. So, again...
Where shall I go?
You come over here, babe.
Come over here.
See this
Okay.
better position just there, see? So I'm pulling it up high to begin with, making sure that I get that guide in. You can also see I've got a strong guide from my previous section, and I'm just following the angle of the section with my fingers. And now I'm literally just, I'm being careful of this. We don't want, that's why I'm putting a clip in it. Because if you don't put a clip in it, it's so easy to pick that hair up. And we don't want to pick that hair up. So let's just get that out of the way. Really want to be able to see that section there.
Let me know when I can read some comments.
Yeah, read some comments, Jess.
Some comments. Let me go back to the start. Drew. Hi, Lee.
Hello, Drew.
Sue Wortley gives a little wave.
Hello, Sue.
Katrina Thompson.
Hello, Katrina Thompson.
Gives a little smiley face. Jay says, hi, Lee. I'm attending your seminar at Halesowin College tomorrow.
Tomorrow?
Tomorrow. Laura Webster, hi, Lee from North Lindsay College.
Hello,
hi.
how you doing, guys?
Kim, hello, Lee from us all at North Kent College.
Hello, North Kent College. Is that Kim?
That was Kim.
Hello, Kim.
And then I think it was Katie Thomas that said that she can't see because the comments are away. Listen, everyone, I found out, Louise Crane told me if you swipe right, the comments will disappear. So just do that if they're in the way. We got a lovely message here from Marie Ashcroft.
Yeah.
Love watching these, Lee, as you give us level ones a boost of confidence.
Oh.
That all our hard work will pay off.
Exactly, It certainly will. Hard work does pay off.
Certainly does.
Okay, so I've done all that side now, yeah? So now I'm going to let this down. So you can see straight away by leaving that disconnected piece there, it's going to fill in that gap eventually. We're now going to do the other side.
Okay.
So if you come over there, Jess, being very aware of not to disturb this piece because this piece is going to be the disconnection. So this is a very classic way of how we cut the short graduation in the Lee Stafford Academy, is how we do the back here. I think the only difference is that on the short grad that we teach in the academies, we start this section from the temple. But because I'm leaving out a lot of this disconnection here, I wanted a little bit more hair to play with. So that's why I've done it just above the temple. So I'm just working through this. Fingers pointed slightly into the nape. Sections diagonal. Always starting from the top because that was the first guide that I put in. There's my guide underneath as well.
Somebody's put here, the video needs flipping. Okay, everybody. So do you all need me to flip the video? That's the question. Obviously that's a question.
How'd you flip it?
I don't know. Emma Louise says, I've been hairdressing for 20 years.
Congratulations.
Okay, so apparently the video needs flipping. Everyone's saying flip the video. Right, little problem I have, guys. Once you start a live video, you can't flip it.
Oh dear.
I know.
I thought we cracked that, didn't you?
I thought we cracked that.
Yeah.
We even did a little that everyone's going, Joe says thumbs up, Karen says yes, Susan says yes, Diane says yes. And then Vicky says no, it's fine. And then Claire says yes, please.
Okay, so we've done that underneath, right? That's all the same length. When you cross-check this, it's all the same length, getting slightly longer as we work up to the top. Yes, I would cross-check this as well, just to make sure it's absolutely perfect. So that's done for now. We're going to leave that to dry off slightly. Now we're going to, these two sections we've got on the sides, we're now going to split these into two. So literally, we're going to go from here to there. And this is just going to be two sections now. So we go right the way round to there, comb this down, and then this section we're just going to loosely clip out the way. And then we're going to do exactly the same on the other side here. We're going to split this section horizontally. So we've changed from vertical to horizontal now. And we're going to do exactly the same with this. We're just going to clip this loosely out the way. Okay, so we're going to start from round the back again. So if you come round here, Jess, you can see this piece that I'm doing here. So now I'm going to stand directly behind, and I'm going to, you can see when the hair's been sectioned off, it can split like that. So we just want to get rid of that split, because that will make life difficult for you, especially when you come to dry it off. So just put a little bit of water on that just to melt it together. Now we're going to pull this down and slightly out. So it's very, very important here. If you come around here, Jess, you can see that I can see my guide very clearly underneath there. So I'm pulling down and out just slightly. So I'm graduating it, yeah? Now what I'm going to do to get the balance on both sides, I'm going to work from side to side. So I'm going to move my body around now, and I'm just going to pull it down and up slightly. I can see my guide on the underneath there. Now I'm going to move to the other side. And like I say, moving from side to side like this just means that you just get more control of your balance. And what I find as well with this classic technique that we teach in the academy is that it's by putting that line in first and then taking all the underneath off and then doing this, it's just really easy to get that balance with your graduation, which I always struggled with graduation, with short graduation, you know, trying to get the balance the same on each side. So this is just a really simple and easy way to make sure that you get that balance. You can see already I'm getting that balance just by moving from side to side and having that horizontal line all the way around the haircut to begin with. Going to move around again. So I'm pulling it down. You don't want to pull it all the way down. You pull it down and you lift up. So it's really, really important. I see that guide on the underneath, which I can.
Michael Saunders says, Big 10 so far.
Hello, Mike. How you doing, buddy? It's the 10 man.
The 10 man.
Mike is one of our STAFs that go around and coach the trainers in colleges. Mike's one of our top guys that basically helped us develop all the teachings that we do within the academy. We call him the 10 man because whenever he does seminars, he always gets 10 out of 10, don't you, Mike? Quite a feat, that, mate. Okay, so I've done that side. Just finishing off here, and I've got the balance absolutely perfect by doing that.
We do a little look so far.
Yeah, just comb that down.
I promise everyone, on the next Facebook Live, I'm going to do a vertical.
We thought we cracked that, didn't we?
I thought I cracked it. So sorry, guys, if you're having to... Apparently, if you switch your phone around, it's okay.
Yeah.
It might go a bit smaller. And I'm sorry if you're on an iPad, but I promise you on the next one I will do it differently.
Okay, so this is the last section here. So, again, I'm standing at the back to begin with, pulling it down and lifting out. Making sure I can see that graduation on the underneath, and then moving around, moving my body around, pulling down and pulling up. Moving around here, pulling down and lifting up.
I've got a good question for you, Lee.
Go on, go on.
Lucy Earle says, any tips to help with my interview to get into the academy I have this Wednesday?
Wow. That's a really good question. I think turning up on time would be great.
A bit early, maybe.
Or a bit early, being enthusiastic, being passionate. maybe doing a little bit of research about the academies, which you can go to Stafford Education.com to find out. And and I think if you do all of that, I don't think you'll have any problems at all.
Best of luck, Lucy.
Best of luck. Okay, so I'm moving around the head from one side to another. This is the last section on this side. And move round to here. And then that is all done. So you can see that, Jess? You've got that graduation there. You can see that graduation that we've built up there. Now, what I would do now is I would go through this and I would cross-check just by doing diagonal sections now, just cross-checking to make sure it's absolutely perfect. So that's the first stage. So for the sake of time, I did one earlier.
Ooh.
Just so we haven't got to worry about blow drying these heads off. So I cut this exactly the same as the one that you just saw me do. Around the bottom here, I just did a little bit of scissor over comb with some thinning scissors just to sit it in exactly like we do in the academy. So now we've got these massive disconnected pieces here. So the first thing I want to do is just reduce a bit of weight and a bit of length. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take vertical sections, I'm going to pull it up, and I'm literally, just like you would do a razor, just going to take, so it's a big concave really. I'm cutting up like that, just reduce, oops.
Oopsie-daisy.
Oopsie-daisy. Just to reduce some weight and some length. So I'm pulling it right up. Can you see that, Jess?
Yep, got it.
So I'm just like, I'm not actually closing these scissors. I'm just literally doing that.
What's that called?
That's called, we call that, we're cutting in the shank, and we call that, what do we call that now? God, my mind's gone blank.
You can make up a name.
No, we've actually got a name for that. It's
squeezing.
Squeezing, well done, babe. You actually named that technique.
I did, didn't I? That's why I remembered it.
It used to be called the squash, didn't it?
Yeah, and I renamed it the squeeze.
And you said, no, it's much more of a squeeze, Lee. I mean, you're definitely
It's
right.
not a squash, babe. It's a
Okay,
squeeze.
so you can see we've reduced a bit of hair there. So what we're going to do now is literally, we're just going to, again, just using the squeeze, we're just going to remove as much, you can leave as much or as little hair here as you want. So, all depending on the look you're going for and the length that your client would want, you can take as little or as much off of here as you want. So we started off by taking hair away that way. Now we're taking it off this way. We're not closing our scissors as we go down.
Emma says, like feathering?
It's quite similar to feathering. I mean, it all depends what sort of feathering you're doing. If you was doing some sort of texturising, you might close your scissors. With this, we're not actually closing our scissors, we're just doing this. So it's a very, very gentle action. And then we can just take a little bit of hair off this way. So you can see by leaving that hair disconnected there, it really fills in this gap. Even though we've taken this hair short round here, Jess, if you see, even though we've taken that short, by leaving that disconnection piece, we really kind of fill in this gap. So like I say, you can take as little or as much off of this as you want, all depending by the kind of the vibe you're going for. And then we're going to do exactly the same on the other side. So again, we're just going to take vertical sections, pull it up. You go over that way, Jess, you'll be able to see it better actually. Yeah, if you're coming that way. So you can see there's our guide kind of from the top of the graduation, and we're literally just cutting up like that. So it's a big concave. It's a big concave because this shape is going in and then we come out like that. And like I said, all we're doing there is we're just removing some weight and some length to start with. So if you come around this way again, Jess, can you see that?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you was, a razorer, then you could quite easily use a razor on that.
So you can do a few different techniques.
Yeah, I mean, this is just one technique, the squeeze, which is a technique that we use quite a lot in our academies. all our academies are all over the country. We partner with colleges all over the place where we teach teach level 1s, level 2s and level 3s. So now that we've cut that hair off working the concave way, now we're going to come down very gently and we're just going to squeeze this off. So I'm just taking a bit, you haven't got to take it all off in one go. Slowly, slowly catch a monkey.
Slowly, slowly catch a monkey.
Slowly, slowly catch a monkey.
I just want to say hello to Abingdon.
Hello, Abingdon.
Anybody from Abingdon and Chichester and Stoke.
These are all our partner academies.
North Kent, Doncaster, Bournemouth and Poole, North Lindsay. I think there's a few North Lindsays watching. Hull, New City College, London. Hi guys.
Okay, so now I'm going in this way, just taking off a little bit of hair. And like I say, you can do as little or as much as you want here. You could make this asymmetric, so you could leave one side a little bit longer than the other. I mean, the top is going to be very, very asymmetric, so you don't have to worry about getting this exactly the same on both sides, because the finished look is going to be so asymmetric anyway that it doesn't matter. The most important thing here is that it just looks really good from this side and it looks really good from that side. I wouldn't get too hung up in trying to balance this off. It's not important, because like I say, the final look is going to look so asymmetric anyway that it doesn't matter if this is absolutely perfect or not. So if you have a little look around that, Jess, you can kind of see what we're left with here on the underneath, so we can come back to that.
So let's have a little look. Let's do a head check.
So all we've done so far really is a classic short graduation, but we've just left out a disconnected piece that goes all the way on the underneath, right back to that hairline at the back there. So that's the only difference at the moment between, and the fact that we started going slightly higher on the temple. And you can see why we did that. Normally we'd start at the temple going back, because normally we cut this quite short here, but we've gone up a little bit higher just so it's left a little bit more hair around here to play with. The last thing that I would want to do here is have, spider's legs. It's thin and then it wouldn't fill in that gap. You're better off having a little bit more hair that you can take off rather than not enough hair to kind of fill in that area. So that underneath's fine now. Now what I'd like to do now is just reduce a little bit of this white. Well, not reduce the white. I still want to leave the length, but I just want to make it melt in a little bit more. It's been cut very, very technical so far. So all I really want to do here is reduce the weight around here. I'm not interested in down here. It's just on this top piece. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a section there, and then I'm going to run my comb on the underneath and pick it up like that.
Oh, that's good.
And I'm just going to go into this vertically. Just, see, I'm running it all the way down, then running the comb in and picking that up.
Is that unique to this haircut?
No, it's I mean, I could go in this way and pick it up that way and do it, but it's just a lot easier for you to see what I'm doing this way. So pull it all out then. You can see we've got a really sharp line there. So I'm not reducing the actual length of it. I just want to make the whole thing look a little bit more lived in. Then I'm going to do the...
Oh,
oops,
Mariah's playing.
Now we're going to work just on this top section here. Again, I'm not going to just reduce the length of it. Just going to loosen it up, just so it looks a little bit more lived in. And when I comb this down, we'll still have the graduation there, but it will just it will just look a bit sort of softer.
Victoria wants to know how you came up with the name The Flirt and why.
That's a very, very good question. See how that's,
I'd like to know that, actually.
See how that's a little bit more sort of, a little bit softer now. You can't see the graduation quite as prominently, even though it's still there. I always find it's nice to... Who's that?
It's Mariah again.
Yeah, it's always nice to actually name the haircuts because I just think they're more memorable when you name them. And I came up with a flirt. I mean, you know, it's always... Who is that?
It's George.
George?
George.
Come on this way, Jess.
Sorry?
Come on this way so you can see her. So, yeah, I just basically... I was just trying to think of a name for this haircut. And this haircut, whereas I did the club cut last week, which was quite a sort of strong haircut in its lines, this one is it's much looser. It's much more textured. It's much sort of softer and more and looser. So yeah, the Flirt just felt like that. It just felt like a good name for it. Okay, so this is the last section on the top, or should I say the middle, the top of the middle. If you come around here, Jess, you can just and again now, when I comb that down, you know, it's been cut very technically to begin with, but you're just loosening it up a little bit. Okay, so that's the underneath done now. All completely done. So we're now going to go on to the top. Okay, so we're now going to take, come around this side, Jess. We're now going to take a horizontal section around the back there. And we're literally going to pull this up. Let me just get my arm in there, Jess. So I'm now using a bit of this guide from here as I'm lifting that up.
See how I can get in?
Actually, I don't want to go quite as far back as that. So you can see now there's that guide on the underneath there, yeah? So we're just going to keep these sections horizontal, pulling it straight up. So this is now the uniform layer. Even though with the uniform layer we would round it off more, and the difference is here we're just pulling it up nice and square. We're not then connecting it to that. We're just leaving that little bit of weight to fall onto that graduation there. So just vertical sections, straight the way up. So we're not over directing now. This is just pulled straight out from the head. Just straight the way up. So if I cross-check this now, what we're looking for is we want it to just be the same length all the way through to the front now.
Hazel says you're my inspiration.
Oh, thanks, Hazel.
From Preston College.
Thank you, Hazel. It's always nice to hear.
It's very nice to hear.
Isn't it? So we're just working towards the front. Just straight out from the head. So it's very, very simple. Very, very simple, this piece. Right the way to the front. Straight up. And you've got to remember now that the head now is going to round quite significantly through there. So we don't want to be pulling it back at all because we'll over direct that. We just want to be pulling it straight out from the head.
So how did you come up with the Flirt, Lee?
But you know what? I came up with this haircut because when I was first playing around with the short graduation for the academies, I think I was working on the head for one of our videos, and I made a mistake, and I ruined this area round the back here. So I just had to play with the top, and I just thought, well, why don't I do something a little bit different with the top? And I did this haircut, and it came out great. So that's exactly how I came up with it, just by a mistake, basically. So okay, so we've done that section, and now, and we just want to put a little bit of water around here, because again, where this has been sectioned for a little while, you get them kind of ugly pre-section marks that you just want to make sure that you get out. Okay, so now with this side, the side that is slightly thicker towards the front, we're now going to do a uniform layer again, but this time this is going to be longer. So it's exactly the same, but now we're going to do this to about the length of the comb. So nice and simple, just the length of the comb. So it's very, very disconnected from this side. And as it comes back, you'll see that we've got a lot of disconnection around the back there as well. So now we're just going to work through to the front, pulling it straight the way up, making sure, using our comb as a guide, or as a measuring stick, should I say, and we're just pulling this straight the way up and cutting a square line again. Putting our comb in there just to make sure.
Would people like more close-ups, or would you like me to move away so you can see the whole head? Let me know what angle you prefer.
So nice and simple. So this is where the mashup is now, because we've done a classic short graduation, albeit we've left some disconnected pieces around the front here. And on the top, we've done a uniform layer, but it's been an asymmetric uniform layer. Just putting the comb in there just to make sure that it's...
Karen says, what size comb are you using, Lee?
Do you know what? It's just a standard size comb. But again, you can play around with this. I would always say, when doing this section on top here, leave it a little bit longer to begin with, because you can always cut more off. And we're just going to do exactly the same as what we did on this side, and we're just going to pull it straight out from the head, nice and square. So you can see we've got quite a strong pre-sectioning mark there. We just want to get rid of that. And through the centre. Okay, so that top's done now. So have a look round, Jess. So that's it in its raw form. So for the sake of time, we've got one that we prepared earlier, just so you haven't got to see me drying this off.
We got a little bit of tinsel going on here, guys.
Oh, it's Christmas already.
It is Christmas. We already had Mariah.
It was Christmas and Halloween at the same time.
It was.
In the Stafford's household.
It's been Christmas since September. September.
So this is exactly the same length and haircut that you've just seen me do, but this one is just dried off. So the top has been cut very technically and very blunt. So we just want to get rid of that bluntness now. Bluntness. So we're going to pull this up, and we're going to go in a little bit more aggressively here, because I really want to make sure that we get a textured vibe through here. Again, when you're cutting this back, you can see, have a little look to see where that's falling to. You can always take more off afterwards. But yes, we've still got that disconnection through there. You go through there, Jess. Put it all the way up. Again, you can see we've got that really strong, blunt line that we first cut in And I'm going, the scissors are still going in quite vertical, but they're going in a bit deeper. Still trying to keep the length on it. You can see I've really broken that up now.
If anyone's got any questions about the academies, just write them in the comments and Neil will get back to you. Anything you need to know, leave a comment.
Yeah, if anyone wants to know anything about Stafford Education, where the academies are, just put a little note in the comments and one of the team will definitely get back to you ASAP.
You can also contact Neil Hume on LinkedIn.
Yeah, well, if you're a college, that is, and you're interested
college.
in Stafford Education, then just contact Neil Hume on LinkedIn. So just really want to make sure that I'm taking weight away from this. And I want to be a bit more aggressive and take some sort of chunks out of it. So I really want this to be textured, especially as I move into the front here. I don't want it to sit all heavy like it is there. So around the front here, you really want to just have a little look to see how the whole thing's falling around the face. So really going to use my mirror here. Just see how that... So you can go in once doing this texturizing, see how it's looking and feeling, then you can always go in and take some more off. So just pulling it straight the way up. Again, this isn't something you want to go in like a bull in a china shop. Just, you know, you've spent all this time and all this energy on the technique and making sure that the technique's solid. So you don't want to ruin it now by taking too much weight out or being too aggressive with it. So just take your time and just keep looking at it and see how it's falling on the face. So now we're going to go to the other short piece. And again, we just want to make sure that this is looking nice and textured.
Lindsay says, do you prefer classics of offsets? Or does she mean classic or offset?
Do you know what? I like everything. I mean, you can see something that's really classic, that's really beautiful, and you can see something that's really creative, that's really inspiring. I mean, what we're trying to do here with these Facebook Lives is we're trying to do stuff that hopefully is really interesting and simple and something that's easy to follow, but something that you really can go and use on your clients. I mean, you know, again, what I've done here is, you know, I've done, you know, extremes in the asymmetricness of the uniform layer, but you can make this more subtle if you wish. It hasn't got to be quite as extreme as what I've done it, but I still believe that even though I've done this quite extreme, the lengths on top, it still looks nice and commercial.
Have a little look around.
Which is the whole point of these Facebook Lives. It's all about trying to make it nice and commercial, something that you can use in the salon. But like I say, you know, this particular look here can be made even more commercial by the lengths that you take these two uniform layers. So just looking in the mirror, just checking out how it's falling. This actually works really nice on the other side as well. If you chuck it over on the other side, actually looks really good this way as well. So if you come and have a little look, Jess, over this way, can see it really works nice on the other side as well. So it can be worn on both sides. This side, I think, looks a lot less asymmetric, even more commercial on this side than what it does if you start flipping it over this way. I've also done one because someone did ask me last week when I did the club cut, what would it look like curly? So I have done a look, exactly the same haircut, let me bring it over, but a curly version, or should I say a textured version. And the only difference with this haircut is rather than at the front on this one, I took a centimetre from the hairline, I went over to the eye. With this one, I literally went all the way through, just like split the top completely in the centre. But you can see it works really nicely. If you have a look around there, Jess, it looks really nice, I think, textured as well. What did you call that one, Jess? You said that one looked like...
Can't remember.
Wasn't it Doreen?
Doreen.
Doreen from Leeds.
So how did you do this texture, Lee?
I did it, first of all, I did it with some tongs, and then done a little bit of back combing, used a little bit of mess around by Redkin, and then just used a bit of hairspray, just to kind of just play around with it and just mould it into shape. I've been an ambassador for Redkin for 30, oh, is it 20 or 30 years? God, since I first started
When I met you, you were well into it.
Yeah, so I always use Redkin alongside my own products.
What does everyone think, guys? What do you prefer? Do you prefer the more textured, or do you prefer the more natural? What does everyone prefer? Very different, aren't they?
They are, aren't they?
I love a haircut where there's so much versatility. It's
Well,
like
exactly,
you've got
yeah.
so much for your money because you can just be a
Exactly.
different person every time you step out the door.
Exactly.
Textured, Tracy. Oh, hi, Tracy. Tracy says textured.
Yeah.
Just this one. You'd look great with that, Tracy.
So I've just put a little bit of messed around into this.
Loving both, Karen Smith.
So, this one, when you go right the way through the middle, when I was experimenting, have a look on this one, Jess. When you go right the way through the middle, I just felt that it wasn't as commercial as here. Because when you came here and you just, a few centimetres from the hairline, you went to the corner of the eye, you just had a little bit more hair to go over the eye here, which I just felt was just a little bit more commercial. But you can go straight down the middle. But even though we've kind of done, you know, extremes with the lengths on top, it still feels commercial. And even though around the back here, if you look around the back here, Jess, even though there's a lot of disconnection going on there, it kind of just melts into the back, doesn't it?
Can't really see, can you?
Okay, so a little recap on this, guys. So on the underneath, it was a classic short graduation, and we just left some disconnected pieces all the way through the underneath, just up to the hairline there, which fills in the gap on both sides really, really nicely. At the top was simply sectioned all the way down the middle to 2 centimetres from the hairline, and then it went to an angle that went right parallel to the middle of the eye there. This side was cut like a uniform layer, but a square one, and that was cut all the way through nice and short right to the front, and on the other side we just lifted it up and it was cut to the length of the comb. Obviously then different sizes could vary on, you know, the client that you've got and the kind of shape that you want to create. But that's it, guys. That is the Flirt. I hope you like it. Thanks for joining us again on our second Stafford Education Facebook Live. Just note that the first Sunday of every month we'll be doing a Facebook Live here in Primrose Hill on the 5th floor of the Stafford's household. Have a great evening, have a great week, and I'll see you next time. Ta-da, guys.
Lee, you've still not said how you came up with the name The Flirt.
Yeah, I was just walking through London. I was trying to think of a name, and I thought of The Flirt. I don't even know why I thought of it, but it just kind of felt right for this haircut.
Everyone's saying fab, take care. Michael Saunders says sweet. Have a look at the more textured one now. So next time, guys, I am going to hold the phone differently. I'm going to hold it vertically. See if that makes a difference.
Ta-da.
Bye, everyone.